The watch market is absolutely flooded with timepieces that look attractive in advertisements, but turn into regrettable purchases within weeks of ownership. Slick marketing campaigns, celebrity endorsements, and beautiful product photography convince thousands of people daily to waste their hard-earned money on watches that simply aren't worth buying. These aren't just bad values. We're talking about watches with fundamental quality issues, deceptive marketing practices, and design flaws that manufacturers hope you won't discover until after purchase. Today, we're exposing the 10 watches you should absolutely never buy, explaining exactly why they're terrible investments and revealing what you should purchase instead. This isn't about being watch snobs. It's about protecting you from making expensive mistakes that experienced collectors learn to avoid the hard way. Number 10. Invicta Pro Diver 8926. The Invicta Pro Diver 8926 represents everything wrong with watches designed to deceive rather than deliver genuine value to uninformed customers seeking deals. This shameless Rolex Submariner homage attempts capturing luxury aesthetics while using the cheapest possible components and manufacturing methods to maximize profit margins. The massive, gaudy case proportions scream fake luxury to anyone with even basic watch knowledge, immediately identifying the wearer as someone who doesn't understand quality. The NH35 movement inside is actually decent, but Invicta surrounds it with such poor case construction and finishing that the overall watch becomes worthless junk. What makes this never buy is that Invicta's entire business model relies on fake MSRP pricing showing $500 crossed out selling for $89, creating false perception. The brand has zero heritage, zero respect in watch communities, and zero resale value. It's essentially disposable fashion jewelry pretending to be horology. The Cyclops date magnifier and Mercedes hands are blatant Rolex copying that crosses from homage into shameless imitation territory lacking any original design. The watch quality control is notoriously inconsistent with misaligned bezels, loose crowns, and defective movements reported constantly by disappointed buyers discovering their mistake. For the same $80-$100, you could buy legitimate Casio, Timex, or even budget Seiko watches with actual brand heritage and proven reliability. The Invicta 8926 exists to trap uninformed buyers who want Rolex aesthetics without understanding that copying design doesn't transfer quality or value whatsoever. Number 9. Daniel Wellington Classic Petite. The Daniel Wellington Classic Petite epitomizes fashion watches with zero horological value, existing solely through Instagram marketing and influencer partnerships creating artificial hype. This minimalist watch uses the cheapest possible Chinese quartz movement available, literally costing manufacturers $2 or $3, then wrapped in thin steel cases sold for $200. The marketing relies entirely on beautiful lifestyle photography and influencer discount codes, creating illusion of value through association with attractive people and aspirational lifestyles. The watch quality is embarrassingly poor with thin cases that dent easily, mineral crystals scratching immediately, and movements failing within months of purchase. What makes this absolute never buy is that identical watches from AliExpress cost $15 to $20 with the exact same movements, materials, and construction quality. Daniel Wellington spends millions on marketing but virtually nothing on actual watch quality, charging premiums purely for logo and lifestyle association created artificially. The interchangeable straps are marketed as features but simply compensate for cheap leather that deteriorates rapidly, requiring constant replacement generating additional revenue. The watches have zero resale value. Try selling a used Daniel Wellington and you'll get offers of $20 to $30 maximum from buyers recognizing it's worthless. For $200, you could buy legitimate Seiko, Citizen, or Timex watches with decades of proven reliability, actual brand heritage, and movements that last. Daniel Wellington represents the worst of fashion watch industry style over substance, marketing over quality, and exploitation of uninformed consumers through social media manipulation. Number 8. MVMT Classic Watch. The MVMT Classic Watch follows the same predatory fashion watch playbook as Daniel Wellington, using crowdfunding and social media marketing to sell cheap watches at inflated prices. This disruptive brand claimed to eliminate the middleman providing value, but actually just imports cheap Chinese watches, adding enormous markups for branding and marketing. The movements are basic, unreliable quartz costing $3 to $5 that fail frequently, with customer service notorious for ignoring warranty claims and disappearing after purchase. The cases are thin stamped steel that dents and scratches easily, with finishing so poor you can see sharp edges and rough surfaces throughout. What makes MVMT a never buy is the sheer dishonesty of their value proposition, claiming to provide $500 quality for $100 when they actually provide $15 quality. The watches have absolutely zero resale value, with used MVMT watches selling for $20–40 online, as buyers recognize they're essentially disposable fashion accessories. The minimalist design they market as refined and timeless is actually just cost-cutting. Fewer complications mean cheaper production, reducing manufacturing expenses dramatically. The brand targets young buyers through Instagram ads and influencer partnerships, exploiting lack of watch knowledge through lifestyle marketing rather than product quality. For $100–$150, you could buy Casio, Timex Weekender, or Seiko 5 watches with proven reliability, actual movements worth servicing, and brands with legitimate heritage. MVMT represents everything wrong with crowd-funded fashion watches: empty promises, deceptive marketing, poor quality, and business models built on exploiting uninformed consumers seeking style. Number 7. Skagen Holst. The Skagen Holst exemplifies fashion watches masquerading as minimalist design while delivering poor quality that fails rapidly under normal daily wear conditions. This Danish-inspired brand was acquired by Fossil Group, becoming another vehicle for cheap Chinese movements in thin cases sold at inflated prices through design marketing. The ultra-thin cases might look elegant initially, but provide zero protection for movements, with any minor impacts causing immediate damage or complete failure. The mineral crystals scratch within weeks of normal wear, destroying the clean, minimalist aesthetic that attracted buyers in the first place. What makes Skagen a never buy is the watches simply don't last. Movements fail, crystals scratch, leather straps disintegrate within 6 to 12 months of regular use. The mesh bracelets are uncomfortable, pull arm hair constantly, and develop sharp edges that actually cut skin during normal wearing throughout the day. The Scandinavian design marketing is pure fiction. These are Chinese mass-produced watches with Danish branding added for perceived sophistication and premium positioning. The watches have essentially zero resale value, as used Skagen watches sell for $15–$30, with buyers recognizing they're disposable fashion accessories. For $150–200, you could buy legitimate Seiko, Citizen, Orient, or Timex watches that will last decades rather than months with proper care. Skagen exists in that terrible middle ground: too expensive for what you get, too cheap to be quality, targeting buyers who prioritize aesthetics over functionality. Number 6. Fossil Townsman Automatic. The Fossil Townsman Automatic represents the illusion of value by offering affordable automatic watches that actually deliver poor quality mechanical movements you'll regret purchasing. This watch uses cheap Chinese automatic movements that are notoriously unreliable, losing significant time daily and failing completely within 1 to 2 years of ownership. The movements are so poorly regulated that +30 seconds daily is common, making the watch essentially useless for actual timekeeping requiring any accuracy whatsoever. The exhibition case backs reveal movements with zero finishing, rough machining, and visible defects that immediately identify them as bottom-tier Chinese calibers. What makes this a never buy is that Fossil charges $200+ for watches containing $15 movements that experienced collectors wouldn't trust for anything important. The leather straps are genuine but cheap quality that cracks and peels within months, requiring replacement that costs nearly as much as buying new watches. The cases are thin stamped steel with poor finishing, sharp edges, and water resistance so minimal that hand washing risks damaging the movement permanently. The watches have minimal resale value, as buyers recognize that Fossil automatics are fundamentally unreliable, requiring more service costs than replacement costs. For $200, you could buy Seiko 5 automatics with proven in-house movements, Orient Bambino watches with reliable calibers, or Citizen automatics with actual quality control. Fossil Townsman Automatic appeals to buyers wanting real mechanical watches cheap, but delivers movements so poor they're worse than $20 quartz alternatives. Number 5. Michael Kors Lexington Chronograph. The Michael Kors Lexington Chronograph epitomizes fashion brand watches using designer names to sell cheap timepieces at luxury prices through brand recognition alone. This oversized chronograph uses basic quartz movements costing $5–$10, wrapped in heavy gold-plated cases that tarnish and flake within months of wear. The watches are designed purely for visual impact and logo visibility, with massive 45–48mm cases that look ridiculous on most wrists, screaming fashion victim. The chronograph functions use cheap modules that fail frequently, with pushers that stick, reset improperly, or stop working entirely within the first year. What makes Michael Kors watches absolute never buys is charging $200–$400 for watches worth maybe $30 in actual materials and manufacturing costs, honestly. The gold plating is thin and cheap, wearing through quickly revealing base metal underneath, destroying the luxury appearance that attracted buyers initially. The mineral crystals scratch easily, the movements are unreliable, and the overall construction quality is embarrassingly poor for the prices charged to customers. The watches have virtually zero resale value. Used Michael Kors chronographs sell for $30 per $60 as buyers recognize they're fashion accessories, not real watches. For $200–$400, you could buy legitimate Citizen, Seiko, Tissot, or Orient chronographs with proper movements, better materials, and actual watch brand heritage. Michael Kors exists to extract maximum profit from buyers wanting designer status symbols, not to produce quality timepieces worth owning long-term. Number 4. Armani Exchange X2100. The Armani Exchange X2100 represents fashion brand exploitation taken to extremes, using prestigious Armani name to sell absolute garbage watches to uninformed consumers. This chronograph features the cheapest possible Chinese quartz movement in thin stamped cases, with finishing so poor you can see machining marks and rough edges. The watches are designed for maximum visual impact at minimum production cost, with oversized cases, busy dials, and prominent branding compensating for zero substance. The chronograph functions are unreliable, with pushers that jam, misalign, or fail completely, and movements that simply stop working within months of purchase. What makes Armani Exchange the ultimate never buy is the brand name creates false perception of quality while delivering watches worth literally $15 to $20 in components. The straps and bracelets are uncomfortable, poorly finished, and develop sharp edges or broken links within weeks of normal wearing throughout daily activities. The mineral crystals scratch immediately, the case is dent from minor impacts, and the water resistance is so minimal that rain can damage them. The watches have absolutely zero resale value. Try selling used Armani Exchange, and you'll struggle finding buyers even at $20 because people recognize they're worthless. For $250, $350 you could buy Citizen Eco Drive, Seiko Solar, Tissot Quartz, or Orient automatic watches from legitimate watch manufacturers with actual heritage. Armani Exchange exists purely to exploit fashion brand recognition, targeting buyers who mistake designer names for quality watchmaking or genuine value propositions. Number 3. Hublot Classic Fusion. The Hublot Classic Fusion represents luxury watch industry's greatest scam, charging astronomical prices for mediocre watches wrapped in aggressive marketing and celebrity endorsements. This luxury watch uses modified ETA movements that cost $200–$300, placed in cases with poor finishing, then sold for $5,000–$15,000 plus through pure marketing hype. The design is derivative and uninspired, essentially copying the Royal Oak's integrated bracelet aesthetic without the craftsmanship, heritage, or finishing that justifies Audemar's Piguet pricing. The movements are basic workhorses with minimal decoration or modification, despite Hublot's claims of in-house calibers deserving premium pricing for development. What makes Hublot an absolute never buy is the atrocious value proposition. You're paying 90% for marketing, celebrities, and brand hype rather than actual watchmaking. The finishing quality is mediocre compared to legitimate luxury brands like Rolex, Omega, or Grand Seiko at similar or lower price points. The watches have terrible resale value, losing 50 to 70% immediately upon purchase, as secondary markets recognize Hublot's inflated MSRP pricing doesn't reflect actual value. The rubber straps deteriorate quickly, requiring expensive replacement, and servicing costs are astronomical for what amount to basic ETA-based movements requiring standard maintenance. For $5,000–$15,000, you could buy Rolex, Omega, Grand Seiko, or Cartier watches with superior movements, better finishing, stronger heritage, and much better resale. Hublot represents everything wrong with modern luxury watches: style over substance, marketing over craftsmanship, and exploiting buyers seeking status symbols rather than horological excellence. Number 2. Guess Core Collection. The Guess Core Collection represents rock-bottom fashion watch territory where even the pretense of quality disappears completely in favor of pure logo exploitation. These watches use the absolute cheapest Chinese movements available, often failing within 3 to 6 months of purchase, with manufacturers knowing they're essentially disposable. The cases are thin stamped base metal with gold or silver plating so cheap it flakes off within weeks, revealing ugly brass or steel underneath. The crystals are basic plastic rather than mineral glass, scratching immediately from any contact with hard surfaces or normal daily wear activities. What makes Guess Watch's ultimate never buys is they combine poor quality with deceptive pricing, $150, $250 for watches that cost maybe $8, $12 to manufacture. The straps are synthetic leather that cracks and peels almost immediately, with stitching that unravels and hardware that breaks from normal wearing throughout weeks. The watches are marketed toward young buyers seeking fashion brands, exploiting lack of knowledge through lifestyle imagery and celebrity associations, creating false value perception. The quality control is non-existent with misaligned hands, defective crowns, and movements that arrive already malfunctioning straight from factory packaging new. The watches have zero resale value used. Guess watches can't even be given away free as people recognize they're literal garbage masquerading as fashion. For $150 to $250, you could buy Casio G-Shock, Citizen Eco-Drive, Seiko 5, Timex Expedition, or Orient watches that will last decades. Guess watches exist purely to extract money from uninformed buyers, representing the absolute worst of fashion watch industry exploitation and predatory marketing. Number 1. Pulsar Heritage. The Pulsar Heritage takes the top spot as the ultimate never-buy watch because it represents complete betrayal of the brand's once proud heritage and reputation. Pulsar invented the LED digital watch and was once a prestigious Seiko sub-brand creating innovative timepieces, but now exists solely as Seiko's dumping ground. These watches use the absolute cheapest movements, materials, and manufacturing methods possible while trading on historical brand recognition that no longer means anything. The heritage name is particularly offensive. There's zero heritage in these disposable quartz watches mass-produced with rock-bottom quality standards throughout production. What makes Pulsar Heritage the worst watch you can buy is the deceptive marketing suggesting quality and heritage that simply doesn't exist anywhere. The watches combine poor materials, unreliable movements, terrible finishing, weak water resistance, and scratchy crystals in packages selling for $100 to $200, pretending to offer value. The bracelets are hollow, rattly, and uncomfortable with sharp edges and cheap clasps that fail or break within months of regular wearing. The movements are unregulated Chinese quartz that lose significant time daily, defeating the purpose of quartz accuracy that should be guaranteed. The watches have essentially zero resale value used. Pulsar Heritage watches sell for $10 to $20 as buyers recognize they're Seiko's trash-tier disposable brand. For $100 to $200, you could buy entry-level Seiko 5 automatics, Citizen Eco-Drive solar watches, Casio G-Shocks, Orient mechanical watches, or Timex with actual quality. Pulsar Heritage represents the saddest never-buy-a-once-great brand reduced to exploiting its historical name selling garbage watches that insult the brand's legacy.